All right. The right wing and Republicans are pretending that the leak of the Supreme Court decision on abortion, which we discussed yesterday, is worse than the Trump riot coup insurrection of January 6, 2021. We knew they were going to do this, and they are. Axios, with a very interesting 3-page document, they obtained the 3-page memo about the messaging that Republicans want on this issue. And their focus is the leak is terrible. The leak is a crime, although they can't tell us what law was broken. And it's an absolute travesty. Not that abortion rights are now going to be able to be brutally curtailed, but that we learned about this decision a few weeks early. And you can check out this document, Axios linking to it. And they are focusing in on this issue of the leak is really the problem. And we have a bunch of examples of this, which I'm going to play for you. Now, again, the real issue here is activist judges. The right loves to say, oh, Democrats put up activist judges who will legislate from the bench. All of Trump's picks paid lip service during their confirmation hearings to the Supreme Court to, I respect precedent. Precedent's important, and Roe v. Wade is precedent right now. And then, as far as we know from the draft document, they're all voting to overturn precedent. That's activist judicial. That is judicial activism, without a doubt. But Republicans want to focus on, oh, the leak, the leak, the leak. We'll look at some clips. Ted Cruz never finds a cynical opportunity to make news. When he sees it, he seizes those opportunities. Here he is saying, this was probably some left-wing law clerk. This is a travesty.
Draft opinion that was leaked last night.
I have to say it is utterly stunning that anyone at the court would leak a draft opinion in over two.
This is Ted Cruz, by the way. He has this whole sincere concern sort of posture down pat, one hand in the pocket, the other hand kind of signaling and using this kind of fake sincere voice.
100 years of our nation's history, this has never happened. And
now, it's not true it's never happened. It actually happened with the Roe v. Wade decision in the 70s, but who's going to let the facts get in the way of a good story?
I am appalled.
Right.
This is the most egregious breach of trust at the Supreme Court that has ever happened.
Ever.
Presumably, some left-wing law clerk, angry at the direction the court is going, decided to betray his or her obligation, the trust that clerk owed to his or her justice and to the court.
The word presumably doing some pretty heavy lifting there. No information about who leaked this so far. Then Ted Cruz continued the rounds and went on Fox News where he said he wants the person who leaked this serving real jail time.
The reason it was leaked is some left-wing, presumably law clerk, wanted to put political pressure on the 5 justices that presumably are in the majority right now. They wanted to put heat and they wanted to invoke politics to try to get them to change their vote. And by the way, if that left-wing law clerk succeeds, it will be the most grotesque politicization of the Supreme Court in the history of our nation. You mentioned an FBI investigation. I hope there is a serious one, and I hope whoever is responsible for this not only is fired instantly, but is prosecuted and serves real jail time for violating the confidences of the Supreme Court.
Now, still unable to articulate an actual crime that was committed. Then we go to the Daily Wire host, Michael Knowles, whose program I've appeared on. He says this, he just straight up says this is worse than the Trump riots.
Absolutely earth-shattering stuff. And I won't let the libs get me down. They're trying to gum this up. They're trying to pressure the conservatives to switch. What the conservatives need to do right now, just come out with the opinion. I don't know if it's in its final draft. This goes all the way back to February, so presumably it's in much better shape. Come out with the opinion. If the opinion is substantially different from this draft, then we will know that the libs have succeeded. At pressuring, at threatening violence. That's really what this is about, right? You whip up all of the riots. You're going to have a whole lot of mostly peaceful demonstrations coming out with Molotov cocktails and rocks and all the rest of it. And it will make a mockery of our system of government. I never want to hear about the norms. Our norms are sacred, cherished, democratic norms. I don't want to hear it from the left anymore. I never want to hear the stupid phrase, January 6th. This is so much more egregious an attack on our democracy than January 6th ever was. It's not even comparable.
Yeah. A decision leaking a few weeks early is worse than the Trump riots with 700 plus alleged criminals. Then we go over to Judge Janine. She also wants jail time, doesn't know what the crime is, but jail time she wants.
They were on opposite sides. So whoever leaked this, we have to find out who the person is and charge them with a crime. I don't know what the crime would be, whether it's some kind of fraud on government property. I've heard there's a statute, fraud on the government, that's very broad that could include this kind of...
Yeah, that's not going to work, Janine. Sorry. The leaking a decision a few weeks early, you could get fired. You're definitely not doing what you're supposed to be doing in your job at the Supreme Court. I don't doubt that. But this is an issue for the Supreme Court as an employer to figure out. Fraud on government property. Give me a break. Greg Gutfeld, who's, I guess, a comedian, he took a different approach where he had what I guess counts as comedy as a response to this.
Republican presidents and Republican senators, and you nominate conservative judges, then you will get to overturn Roe v. Wade. So now both sides are going to have to deal with the fallout on it.
Yeah. Joey, I think, what scares me about this decision, it's obviously going to target the truly marginalized, and I speak of pregnant men. What are your thoughts?
See how funny that is, guys? That's comedy. The right is getting better at comedy, and it's really scaring us on the left. And then lastly, right-wing kind of, I don't even know if she's an actress, right-wing person, Gillian Anderson, tweeting, leaking a Supreme Court opinion is far worse than anything that happened on January 6th. And of course, it's not. This is one approach. And then after the break, we're going to talk about they're not going to stop with just abortion. That's coming up later. Find me on Twitter at @dpacman. One of our sponsors is called Privacy. Privacy is a totally free service that I've been using for years. Privacy lets me create virtual payment cards with one click, and when I use the virtual card, the money is taken out of my bank account. You can create multiple cards, delete them, freeze them, set a spending limit on them. Let's say I'm signing up for a free trial and it requires a credit card. Privacy will autofill a virtual card number, and then after signing up, I can delete that virtual card. So I know I'm not going to be charged again. Something really useful and very practical. Or let's say I'm ordering food over the phone, but I left my wallet somewhere. I don't have my real credit card on me. I can use a virtual card on my Privacy mobile app. But really the best part is you're not out there exposing your real credit card number, so you're not as susceptible to data breaches and identity theft. Privacy is a totally free service, and you'll get $5 to spend when you go to privacy.com/Pacman. The link is right underneath this video.